My dear child, gather close. Tonight, I've got a chilling tale that'll make your heart race and your skin crawl. It's about a lonely diner on a forgotten road, where the last customer of the night wasn't just unusual. He wasn't human at all. This is a story of suspicion, dread, and a truth so dark it'll linger in your mind long after I'm done. So sit tight, keep your eyes open, and listen carefully, because this is a lesson in trusting your instincts when something feels off. It was a cold, foggy night in November, the kind where the air feels heavy and the world seems to hold its breath. The Starlight Diner sat on the edge of Highway 17, a small, flickering beacon in the darkness. Its neon sign buzzed faintly, casting a red glow over the gravel parking lot. The diner was old, its checkered floors scuffed, its booths cracked, but it was a haven for truckers, drifters, and folks passing through the nowhere stretch of road. Mary, a waitress in her late 40s, was working the graveyard shift. She'd been at the diner for years, pouring coffee, serving pie, and chatting with lonely souls. She was used to odd customers, people who came in quiet, ate fast, and left without a word. But this night, something was different. Mary was wiping down the counter, the clock ticking past 2 a.m. The diner was empty, save for the hum of the refrigerator and the faint crackle of the radio playing an old country tune. Outside, the fog was so thick she could barely see the highway. She was thinking about closing early, maybe sneaking a slice of cherry pie before locking up, when the bell above the door jingled. A man stepped inside, and the air seemed to shift, like a cold draft had slipped in with him. He was tall, lanky, dressed in a long black coat that looked too big for his frame. His hat was pulled low, shadowing his face, and his boots left wet prints on the floor, though it hadn't rained in days. Mary put on her usual smile, but her stomach twisted. Something about him felt wrong, like a puzzle piece that didn't fit. "Evening," she said, her voice steady despite the unease creeping up her spine. "Take a seat anywhere you like." The man didn't reply. He slid into a booth near the window, moving with a slow, deliberate grace that made Mary's skin prickle. His hands, pale and bony, rested on the table, fingers too long, nails too sharp. She grabbed a menu and walked over, her sneakers squeaking on the floor. "Coffee to start?" she asked, trying to sound cheerful. The man nodded, still silent, his face hidden under that hat. She poured him a cup, her hands trembling slightly as she set it down. His eyes flicked up for a moment, and Mary froze. They were wrong, too large, too bright, like they glowed from within. She stepped back, her heart pounding, and busied herself behind the counter, pretending to clean. "Now, my child, let me pause here to share some advice. When your gut tells you something's not right, don't ignore it." Mary felt that warning deep in her bones, but she pushed it aside, thinking she was just tired, maybe imagining things. We all get those feelings sometimes, a shiver down your spine, a sense that you're being watched. Trust it. It's your mind picking up on details you haven't fully processed. If Mary had listened to that instinct, things might have gone differently. Back to the story. Mary kept her distance, stealing glances at the man. He hadn't touched his coffee. He just sat there, staring out the window into the fog, his head tilted like he was listening to something she couldn't hear. The radio started to crackle, the music cutting in and out, replaced by static. Mary fiddled with the dial, but it didn't help. The static grew louder, almost like whispers, and she swore she heard her name buried in the noise. She turned it off, her hands shaking. The silence that followed was worse, heavy, suffocating, like the diner was holding its breath. Then he spoke. His voice was low, raspy, like dry leaves scraping together. "You ever see something you can't explain, Mary?" Her blood ran cold. She hadn't told him her name. Her name tag was tucked in her apron pocket, out of sight. She forced a laugh, gripping the counter to steady herself. "Oh, just the usual diner stories. What about you?" Passing through, she hoped to shift the conversation, to make him talk, to make him seem human. He didn't answer. Instead, he turned his head slowly, his hat still hiding his face, and said, "This place, it's special. It's where things cross over." Mary's mouth went dry. She didn't know what he meant, but the words felt like a threat. She glanced at the clock, 2:30 a.m. The cook, Joe, was in the back, probably napping. She thought about calling for him, but what would she say? The guy was creepy, but he hadn't done anything. Yet, here's another piece of advice, my child. When you're alone, especially at night, always have a plan. Mary was in that diner, isolated, with no one to call for help. If you're ever in a situation that feels off, know your exits, keep your phone close, and don't be afraid to make noise. Sometimes, just acting confident can scare off trouble. Mary didn't have a plan, and that made her vulnerable. The man stood, his coat rustling like it was made of something heavier than fabric. He walked to the jukebox in the corner, his boots leaving those strange, wet prints. He didn't put in a coin, but the jukebox lit up, playing a song Mary didn't recognize, slow, eerie, with lyrics that sounded like a chant. She watched, her heart hammering, as he swayed slightly, like he was dancing to it. The air grew colder, the lights flickering. Mary's breath came in short gasps, fogging in front of her face. The diner wasn't that cold a moment ago. She couldn't take it anymore. "Sir, we're closing soon," she said, her voice sharp. The man stopped swaying and turned to face her. For the first time, she saw his face clearly. It was wrong, too pale, too smooth like wax. His mouth was too wide, his teeth too sharp, and his eyes, they weren't just bright. They were empty, like black holes pulling her in. She stumbled back, knocking over a stack of plates. They crashed to the floor, the sound jolting her out of her panic. "You shouldn't stay here," he said, his voice echoing in her head, not her ears. "This place isn't for you anymore." He took a step toward her, and Mary screamed, "Joe!" The cook burst out from the kitchen, bleary-eyed but alert. "What's going on?" he shouted. The man didn't move. He just stared at Mary, his head tilted, like he was studying her. Then, without a word, he walked to the door, the bell jingling as he stepped into the fog. The jukebox stopped. The lights steadied. The air warmed. Mary told Joe everything, her words tumbling out in a rush. They checked the diner, but there was no sign of the man, no car in the lot, no footprints in the gravel, nothing. The wet prints on the floor were gone, like they'd never been there. Joe thought she was exhausted, maybe seeing things, but Mary knew what she'd seen. She quit the next day, moved to a new town, and never went near Highway 17 again. Now, my child, here's the truth behind this tale, and it's darker than you might expect. Locals say the Starlight Diner was built on land that's unsettled. Decades ago, it was a crossroads, a place where people vanished without a trace. Some say it's a thin spot where our world brushes against something else. Others say it's cursed, drawing in things that don't belong. The diner's been sold, rebuilt, abandoned, and reopened. But the stories persist. Late-night customers who aren't human, who leave no trace, who know things they shouldn't. Mary wasn't the first to meet one, and she won't be the last. Let me share one final piece of advice. There are places in this world that feel wrong, where the air is too still, the shadows too deep. If you find yourself in one, don't linger. Get out and don't look back. You might not see what's watching you, but it sees you. Trust me, my child, some things are better left alone. Now, before I go, I need to ask you something. If this story chilled you, if it made your heart race, please hit that like button. It tells me you're out there, listening to your old grandpa's tales. And if you want more stories like this, stories that keep you up at night, subscribe to this channel. Join our family, my child. It's a scary world out there, but together we can face the darkness. Share this story with someone who loves a good scare, and let me know in the comments what you'd do if you were Mary, alone in that diner. Stay safe, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next tale.